nation's entire stuff. I had my hands in it and I was getting
Wow.
nothing. And so I said, either you have to pay me a living wage or I physically cannot do it. And they wouldn't do it for me.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
it's one of those things where we were talking about it before we came on, just being my dad being an entrepreneur
Yeah.
and never really giving up on, like, if you know you're good at something and you know you can do it, you don't give up. You just say, okay,
Yeah.
how can I do this? And thank God the internet exists, because it gives people like me where you can use your brain to create a job, and
Yeah.
that's what this entertainment thing I think is on the internet. And how I found Twitch too is so crazy. So my wife, who we weren't married at the time, was living in Scotland, and it was right after
Okay.
radio. I know, yeah, she's like
I
big
like
time.
want to know so much about that, but you keep
Yeah,
going. I want to know
she,
about this too.
well, she's like a big time businesswoman, and so
Okay.
like she can travel wherever she wants. She does recruiting, so she can live wherever she
Yeah.
wants, and so she was in Scotland at the time, and I went to go visit her. I had just got out of another job in restaurant business. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, these two jobs ended at the same time. I
Okay.
got unemployment and lucky, but nobody's recording it. But anyway, I went to Scotland for a month to go live with her. And when I was there, I found Twitch and I was looking at it,
Wait,
and
you
I
found
know,
it when you were in a
right,
different country.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And well, it was one of those things where I had seen it before, but I wasn't really into it at all. But for
Yeah.
some reason, when I was there, like any of our downtime, because she had to work while we were there, obviously. So when she was doing
Yeah.
her work thing and I wasn't exploring, I would just be watching people play video games. And I was like, why am I watching people play video games in Scotland? Like, what is wrong with
And
me?
why can't I stop?
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, what is this? And then by the end of the trip, it was like my subconscious had kind of finally worked its way into my conscious mind, and it was
Mhm.
like it was telling me, this is what I have to do. This is where I need to
Yeah.
take my radio skills and apply them to
Yeah.
this format and just go for it. And so then had the talk with the wife and said, like, this is what I think I need to do. And lucky for me, I was playing Magic the Gathering. I mean, if I didn't play a game, I really wouldn't have known what to do.
Yeah.
But because I love Magic the Gathering, and it's not like Fortnite or one of the World of Warcraft where it's just so saturated that it's like there's no
Mhm.
way you can get any kind of headway. It's kind of a fringe game, but there's
Uh-huh.
enough where you can kind of grow and show. And people who are really good at
Yeah.
Magic, and this is my advantage, people who are really good at Magic are sometimes like on the, I don't want to say autistic scale, but they're very antisocial, and they'll just kind of like, because their brain works so quickly, it's just like click, 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 click,
Uh-huh.
click. And I'm not really like that. So I'm not really good at Magic as those people, but
Uh-huh.
this is why people come watch me, is
Yeah,
what
you
we're
can
doing.
entertain. You may not win,
Exactly.
but you can
Exactly.
entertain.
We hang out and we relax and we enjoy ourselves. And if we
Yeah, you
lose, we
do.
lose, but that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So playing, having fun. So
Man.
that's how I got into it.
Man, you've got a wicked skill set that you like that does like it fits so well with like what you like what people need to do on Twitch to like really make it cuz you're wanting to make it your business, right? Like you're like it sounds like you want to do it like your full time, you want to make it work. And
Exactly. and
yeah.
it's and as I'm going to, like what you said earlier, like not like just figuring things out, like I've learned to teach myself how to do some graphic design just so I
Yeah.
can have like I learned how to make YouTube thumbnails. And when I refer and talk to my graphic designer, I'll like just kind of take, he gives me all the images that we've downloaded from Adobe, Photoshop or
Yeah.
Adobe Photo Stock or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I just kind of play with them on my graphic design thing, and I line them up how I want, and then he,
Yeah.
so that way we don't have to go over things over and over. He takes them and he makes them look really nice, and so it's like
Yeah.
just slowly gaining these skills. And it's definitely not for the faint of heart. You have to be willing to fail a lot, and that's, I
Yeah.
mean,
Hell yeah.
like life in general, right? Anything that you
Totally.
do in life, it's like if you want to be really good at it, you have to be willing to fail a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's just
and
how I
that
look at it.
like so like I'm a resilience coach like that you found me when I was streaming all my resiliency stuff and like that's it for me. Like I as a person look for opportunities in life that really are these like these pressure cookers of failure. Where it's like like you said like it has to be these repeated failures in order to succeed. And I feel like streaming condenses that and makes that like so present because you're in front of the camera, like you've got the data that's coming in that's either saying you're getting people to watch you or you're not, right? So it's like I don't know, like in life, yeah, it's true about life in general, but there's something really what I love about Twitch that's so much, like, it's just apparent. Like, you can't get away from that reality. Like, you can't be blind to the fact that, yeah, failure is what it takes. And it's a good thing. Like, it's a good thing. And, like, in fact, I have so many people who, like, celebrate when I fail, you know, like, in a good way. Not like they, you know, they, like, you know, talk trash and stuff, but it's all out of love, you know?
Right.
So it's like this weird, like, celebration of people growing publicly, you know, and, like, to succeed being authentically who they are, which is just so cool to me.
Right. Well, I think those are the people that really become successful. I mean, obviously there's characters and stuff like that, like like Dr. Disrespect, or like people that do things. But even that they're trying to stay true to that character.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They're staying in character. It's not like they're like one thing one day and then another thing another day.
Yeah. Right.
They're staying true to this idea and this thing that they came up with.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I was an actress for 14 years before doing this. And, like, when I had a character, like, they all came from me, you know? So, like, I don't know, like, if this is true about Dr. Disrespect or anything, but I would imagine that there's a part of himself that is that person. Like, that character came from a real part of him. So it is an expression of him in a kind of weird, authentic way.
No, I agree. It's just like writing or whatever. Like, I was listening to NPR and I heard this lady talk about her their fantasy novels or whatever, and she's specializes in dystopian futures. And basically what it is she's like, I just take one idea of something bad that could happen and I just expand on it. And that's what it is, right? There's a small part of who you are.
Yeah, totally.
But because it's you just expand on that really small part and find out all the corners of it.
Yeah, and that's like what lets you do it successfully. Like, it's grounded in some sort of reality, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So what's the, like, strangest or most surprising skill you've had to learn now that you're streaming that you didn't know before you started?
Oh, geez. It's OBS. Learning OBS is one of those things that's like, it is so... It's got so many different things that you can do, but the question is, do you want to do all those things? That's how I feel. I feel like when I learn something new, I have 5 new questions for it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going too far down this road. And I see people, they do these, I don't know if you know what a stinger is, but it's like an animated thing that transitions between scenes. And so it's like, and it'll have like a big piece of metal that goes, and then it changes the scene. And I was looking at that and I'm like, it's too much. It's like it distracts from what I'm doing, you know? Like, I don't need some giant animated safe shutting and opening when I'm going to the next scene or whatever. So, you know, and that's OBS is the toughest thing. So, I mean, that I've had to learn. I mean, and it's just, but the other stuff like graphic design, I kind of like had a little bit of that. Obviously, I'm like an audio editing expert, so that's not the roughest. Video editing, I've been learning that too, but that's not a surprise. But just definitely having to learn that computer, I don't know, it's an app system, whatever the hell it is. It's just that's been the roughest part for me, and trying to follow people's examples without wanting to put my own thing into it until I know. I mean, one of my best things I learned from a buddy of mine who is a martial artist, he's like, you have to learn the technique before you develop your own style. And that's a thing I take to heart a lot, where if I don't know something, I want to listen to all of the input about how people that know what they're doing. So when I become an expert, I can develop my own style. So.
Wow. That sounds wise. I feel like I instead develop my style very messily on the fly. like I really lean into the, like, I can't make a mistake. Like, failure isn't a real thing. Like, sure, it sucks, but it's not going to hold me back. And then that becomes the style. But
yeah, that's good too. I mean, that's called in martial arts, that's called drunken master.
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Great. Great. So why GuanoMaestro? Where did that come from?
All right, so this is a multiple layered story. So where it originally came from was my best friend Matt, who taught me how to play Magic. We played a lot of video games together, and we role-playing games mostly. And one of my favorite things about those kind of games is naming your character, because you get to name it something really, me personally, this is just my own personality, I like really disturbing, weird things. And so I would always try to come up with like a really weird, disgusting, disturbing name, because when you're playing role-playing games, the other characters, you know, the non-player characters always say your name. So it's really funny to see them say something really hilarious, right? So I would do this, and my buddy Matt, like, he'd be like, all right, dude, this is funny, but it's just too disgusting. I don't want to see these things. So I had to really like kind of taper it. I like taking his advice and you know, using my skills and being like, okay, let's think of the dirtiest thing I can think of, but say it in a really nice way. And
no,
so
like a
that's
family friendly way.
right. So that's where GuanoMaestro came from, right? The master of shit. So that's like, that's it. So, and then it kind of grew from there, where it's like, I also speak Spanish. And so like guano is also like cero is another word for shit. And so, like cero is nothing, also zero. So master of nothing. And that's kind of who I am too. Like when you talk about skill sets, I've always kind of considered myself like a jack of all trades. Like I'm not an expert at like, I'm an expert at like maybe one or two things, but like, I mean, I grew up on a farm. I used to, like I said, I really diverse background. I can shoot really well, but like I read a lot, you know what I mean? Like just kind of like diverse group of skills. So master of nothing also kind of fits who I am too. So it's an easy name to say too. Guano. Everybody likes to call me shit. You know, that's fine. I'm cool with that. And call me Guano. I love it. You know what I mean? Like that's who I am. So it's perfect.
So did your RPG characters reflect that personality, or do they just have crazy names?
I wish. I mean, they don't make games dirty enough to you know, to reflect the things that I'd like them, because it's mainly just killing things and running around and, you know, with grinding, whatever you want to call it, just killing things, picking up the loot, going to sell it, buying better stuff, do it again.
I feel like if they don't have that yet, you could make it happen.
Well, see, but that's the thing though, is you couldn't. I mean, who's going to play that game? It's going to be like a rated R game, and kids play video games the most. So it would be like it would have to be adults that are like a super weird, disturbing RPG. And so they're like,
I don't know. I got the feeling that there's a niche market out there for that.
I would love that.
I mean, there's enough of us, like millennials, like we're not stopping playing games, and we're only getting older.
Right.
You know?
I would love it. But you got to remember too, it's not like, if it was in a vacuum, it would be great. But I'm sure the evangelical right would come down on me like a hammer, and nobody wants that, right?
Yeah, that's true. Maybe you have to do it anonymously.
I mean, maybe if I go to like a gun blessing ceremony or something with them, maybe they'll accept me. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. So what is like an MVP kind of moment you've had while streaming?
Oh, I just had this last week.
Really?
So Gabriel Nassif is like one of the top 5 Magic streamers of all, or just players of all time. And he's really like one of the guys that, I mean, when I think he won his first world championship or whatever, player of the year when he was like 16 or something.
Wow.
And he did this thing. It was, you know, like Babe Ruth's called shot. He basically, he was playing in the final match of the, you know, for the championship. And he basically said, if I pull this card, I win the game. And he pulled the card.
What?
And so, right. It's
wow.
Cruel Ultimatum was the name of the card. And he actually came on my stream and raided me. And I completely forgot I was so freaked out that I forgot his name, and I forgot the name of the card. I was like, "Oh, you had the called shot." What? I just totally froze. Like, and I am so not the person who gets
geeked
awed
out
by because like I mean, I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and I've met like Ozzie Smith, Bob Gibson. I've met all these famous 49ers. I've met Ronnie Lott, all these people, and none of them has ever happened to me. And when he came on the stream, I was just like, and I tried to tell him, I was like, dude, that moment really cemented my love for Magic, because it was like when I didn't even get into this game until I was in my early 30s. And so for me, that's when I kind of had to stop playing sports too, because my body just can't handle it anymore. My brain thinks I'm 25, but my body says I'm in my 30s. So I had to stop. And this game gave me that competitive feeling where it was like, I felt good to win. Like it felt good to, and my friend that taught me, one of the store owners, my Crazy Fred, actually one of my sponsors, he taught me, he goes, the purpose of Magic is to disembowel your opponent and dance in their entrails.
Which is exactly what you want to hear.
Right. And I was just like, dude, this is my game. So it was that's what kind of got me into it. That was the transition where it was like, I could use this. And so meeting Gabriel Nassif was probably the best. I mean, it's so much fun. I'm hoping that one day, and I found that I'm really lucky that My name is people remember my
Yeah.
name, and so I've run into people. Like I went to Magic Fest in LA and I ran into a couple of people and they're like, I remember you, you know what I mean? They didn't know who I was, but I'm
Yeah.
hoping that one of these days, like people are going to remember who I am, and so when I see them in person, they'll be like, yeah, yeah, and it'll just kind of
Yeah.
grow from there, you know. And I know that I never, like when I was doing Modern Streamers League, I always said on there, I am not a great Magic player. I have no problem saying that. A lot of people are really into being great
Mhm.
Magic players or whatever, and that's not who I am. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not going to get angry if I lose. So that's
Mhm.
what I kind of want people to notice me as. I really think that there's a thing lacking in the Magic community where it's just the acceptance of people that they know they're not going to be the best, but they still
Right.
just want to have fun and play the game and enjoy themselves. And if they
Oh
win,
yeah.
that's great too. But if not, you know, whatever, you know. So
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you found like the sweet spot of getting the competitive like high without like the pressure of having to always perform.
I agree. That's it.
And that sounds sustainable, right? Like if you're like and that's what you need when you're
Yes.
doing it Monday through Friday for a bunch of hours.
Yep, exactly correct. And I use the thing that with radio really taught me with social media, and I've been doing it like the last month or two, where I've really decided to take it on, where I gotta be, you know, repost, have really good things to say, post it
Yeah.
everywhere, just really be active. And I mean, that's being in the radio business. It's like you gotta post, you know, on every single platform. Everything's got to look the same. It's got to be in the
Right.
correct format and look good. So that's just kind of what I'm working on now. But
Yeah.
yeah.
How much Oh, that's a question I want to ask. That just I think just me selfishly wanting to know how much time are you spending like on all the social platforms?
Okay, well, see that's the thing though. So social media for me is one of those things where I do it when I come in, I respond to things. I'm not really
Hmm.
good at Discord. A lot of people are
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you got to get on Discord. You got to do this. You got to do that. You know, let people know who you are." And I've tried, but having to work a full-time job too, it's just
Yeah.
you have to make boundaries for yourself. You really
Totally.
have to give
Yeah.
yourself and say, okay, what am I working on? What am I? And my wife too. I got ADHD, and my wife, when we
Hmm.
first got married, she's like, I love your energy, but with this thing, you're so scattered. You got 5 or 6 different things going. You got to
Yeah.
narrow it down to 3.
Right.
So now my 3 things are this: I stream, I'm doing my YouTube videos, and I'm
Yeah.
creating this league. And those are my 3 main
Yeah.
things. And I monitor social media. So I'm on
Yeah.
there, I reply, I like things, you know, whatever, I post. But other than that, I try to just stick to these 3 things right now and just kind of
Hmm.
see how this grows me. And if I get it down to the point where I'm not really sweating it, I can just do things quicker, then maybe I'll
Yeah.
add it in. Or if I get to go full time, then I can do it full time. You know what I mean? I
Right.
don't have to
Totally.
work 6 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Totally.
So
Totally. That's actually really, I appreciate hearing that because I think one of the things we both share is this like insatiable love of learning. Like you get like this kind of like renaissance of skills but master of none, like I so relate to because I just get so easily inspired and distracted by something that's interesting, you know?
yeah, that's my artistic side. I have like I am so not like I'm very, you know, people are crafty, whatever the word is, that they like to craft stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not like, I don't have like I have like a drawer that I have in this.
Uh-huh.
You can see it behind me in my cabinet right here,
Okay.
and my guano cabinet, right? You like the bats, the guano, okay.
Yeah.
Everything's got a purpose, right?
Yes.
And but it's like I'm not a consistent crafter. I'm just one of those people that makes things when I feel the energy. It like it
Mm-hmm.
consumes me, and I have to make
Yeah.
things, and then it just comes out of me, and I make it, and then I just move on, and then
Yeah.
and then something else comes up, and I do it again. But I don't ever like push myself. I'm sure if I want to do, but I'm just not. That's not who I am. I just it's one of
Yeah.
those things where I feel the energy, and it happens, and I do it.
Yep. Yep. I can appreciate that for sure. So, um, what what one piece of advice would you like to give to like a newer streamer?
All right. Well, basically, it's like this. You're going to have to choose if you want to do it for fun or if you want to do it for a living. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do both at the same time. And if you want to do it for fun, just have fun, no pressure. Don't worry about your numbers. Just put your thing out there. Just have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do it for reals, you got to do it for reals. And that means you have to basically make a business plan. And this is what my wife did. So I already told you my wife, she's a serious businesswoman.
Yeah.
Everybody in her family cannot believe that she's allowing her husband to try to play video games for a living, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, but she told me, she said, if you're going to do this, I want to see a business plan. And so I had to write up, I don't know if you've ever heard of Udemy or Udemy, I don't know how you say it or whatever, but it's basically like it's just a streaming, it's a videos. You can just go learn anything. You can just click on it, and usually things are free or really like $2, and you can buy like a video that will teach you how to do things. So, and I found this from a friend of mine, and so I basically downloaded or bought 2 videos of streaming. One of them is by Ninja, right? Who's one of the biggest guys.
Yeah.
The other one is Zombie Unicorn. I never really heard of her, but I guess she's really big. One was about marketing, and one was about getting yourself started. And so basically, I just created it was like a 15-page business plan that I outlined week by week, month by month, year by year, like everything that I did for my first 2 years. And I lined it up and like how much things would cost. I went and we live in a 1-bedroom apartment, and she works from home, so I couldn't do it here. So what you see behind me here is an office. I rented an office here in San Diego for like lucky for me, I found this place. It's $350 a month. So that's a great deal for San Diego.
Yeah, it is.
I come here early in the morning, like this week. It's all a balance too, I think. Like she wants me to take it really serious, but it's also a thing where I have to make sure that I don't go overboard. Like we've had that conversation a lot where I get obsessed with, like, let me just show you. I'm going to show you one thing real quick. I'm going to just step out. I'm going to show you a calendar that I do. I'm a very visceral person. I like to touch things and like feel it. And my wife doesn't like calendars at all. She just likes to do it online. I like to make an X on the box, it makes me feel good.
Totally.
So I'm going to go show you my first year's calendar. I'm going to pull it off the wall.
Oh, I love that.
Hang on one second. Here we go.
I love that. And gives me a chance to check in with chat. Hi, guys. I'm so into this. All right,
so here, this is December. Hang on. That's just December. Let me get back to April when I started.
That is a giant calendar.
Put this on for you. Yeah, I'm like
that is giant.
Well, yeah, because I mean it's the work calendar. I have a smaller one at home that my wife doesn't mind because I keep it in my closet. She's like, it can't be. We have to look like we live in a house. It can't be a business office. So I'm like, okay. So I keep it in my closet so that if she has any questions about what I'm doing or whatever. All right, so here we go. So look, so this is when I started in April, right? So this is I got my office right here. It took me 2 weeks to get started, but all of these things that I have are on my business thing that I did. All these little lines I have. So, and I have it everything, like all the blue things are my streaming priorities. All the pink things are like personal things. Yeah. Yellow is my job thing. So I have it all colored, ready to go. And I have my my goals. I mean, like I would always be like, this is before we were getting married, like research marriage license.
Yeah.
Right? Like all these other priorities that I have for the week, like I would put them down and go, you know what I mean? Just keep going every single week. I've got this for all of last year. And it helps me keep my brain organized. You know what I mean? For me, honestly, I think if you want to be successful, if you are a nobody like me, I mean, there's guys that are, amazing Magic players and they've won huge tournaments. So everybody already knows who they are. They don't have to do all this stuff because they've already got a following built in. But for guys like me, who I'm nobody, I feel like I have to take everything that I've learned in my life before this point and try to apply it to this thing for me, and it's when I told my mom what I was doing too, like she was like, I'm so happy. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you've been putting so much energy into this radio thing and obviously they love you, but you're not doing it for yourself. She's like, this is something you're doing for yourself. And so now you don't have to think about, what anybody else says. It's all about you and your work. And so I'm just like,
that is an awesome mom.
Yeah, my mom's my mom had me when she was 16. So she was, and back in the 70s, it wasn't as cool as it is now. There was no shows on MTV being a pregnant teen, So people are like, oh, I want to have a kid so I can get on MTV. There was none of that. And I was born in the Midwest too. So, and she was born in Los Gatos, which is like by Santa Cruz. Yeah. And so she was a California girl. And seriously, one of my first memories is her looking down at me going, we are getting out of here as soon as we can. So she went from a 16-year-old mother to being an emergency room nurse in Oakland, California in like 1978, like 6 years later. So it's like, she's a badass to say the least.
Yeah, she sounds like it.
So super tough lady, but super nice and fun too.
Yeah. So this like actually might be a really good segue to the part of our interview that we like think of as our unstoppable hero part.
Hmm.
One of the thing because when I hear a story of like your mom doing that stuff, I'm like, man, she's pretty unstoppable, right? And she's like very heroic in what she was doing, just being a 16-year-old mom and
Right.
taking control of her life, right? And like doing
Hmm.
what she needed to get done to get to where she wanted to be. So that's really inspiring. And the reason why we do so we have like just a set of questions we ask everybody
Okay.
who's willing to just to explore
It's
the
like the
idea.
speed round. It's a speed
Yes,
round.
ready? Yes, no, it's not. It's not going to be that fast.
Ooh.
You wish.
All right. All right.
You wish. But the idea, like for the Matrix Guard, is that we're all heroic. We
Hmm.
just don't necessarily appreciate it about ourselves, or we may not know it yet. So and I firmly believe because my headspace is always so much in like how are we resilient, and I like have done a lot of like learning about the research behind resiliency that we are all remarkably resilient. Like the vast
Hmm.
majority of people after trauma get back to normal
You're right.
statistically. There are some that even thrive afterwards, which are like these crazy anomalies, but that I'm trying to understand. But yeah, so I firmly believe we're all heroic, and so with that and with the your mom as inspiration, I would like to start with that and ask you the first question.
Go.
Okay, who is your childhood hero?
So as a kid, I was a sports guy, so not I don't really I mean they're really shallow as a kid. Like I just had
Mm-hmm.
sports guys, and it would
Yeah.
be guys like and for me it was growing up. I what I was really good at was stealing bases.
Okay.
I would play baseball,
Mm-hmm.
and Vince Coleman. I know you don't know who this is, but he was a St. Louis
How
Cardinal.
do you know I don't know who that is? I
How do you,
don't, but how do you know
okay?
that?
Because he's a baseball player from before you were born.
I know, but Yeti Dude is okay. Anyways, go ahead. Go
All right.
ahead.
So nobody knows Vince Coleman. If
Okay,
you like
nobody knows him.
stealing, if you like stealing bases, you know who Vince Coleman is. Let's put it. That
Okay.
was his
Okay.
specialty. That's what he was known for.
Okay.
So, but what he did is he did something like he was the first professional that did what I did, which was when I wasn't at bat and I wasn't on the field or whatever, I would watch the other team's pitcher and find out. I call it the hitch move, where when they
Okay.
would go, they would like the pitcher, when he's in the, you're on first base or whatever, and he comes down in the stretch, he'll do one thing. Maybe he moves his elbow, maybe he moves his
Yeah.
head, and then if whatever he's going to do before he throws it to the plate, if I see that, I just run. And he was doing that too. So I was like, this guy's like me. I love him. And then as I got older, I was like, all right, this guy's kind of a douche because he ended up doing some
No.
really bad things, but that's okay. But then you
Mhm.
realize, like, you see, who has done things that blow your mind. And
Mhm.
as an adult, as I got older, I think John Muir probably for me is
Okay.
gonna be the person that I just looked at and I was just like, holy crap, like this guy has so many things in common with me. Just Bay Area, he's a UK guy. He loves nature. Obviously he loves nature, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just and at such a young age. And back then, people weren't living past 35, so he had to get so much stuff done. People had to get stuff done earlier in their lives.
Mhm.
So, and I think there was less to learn back then too. Like I look at it now and it's like the stuff we teach, like the algebra we teach our kids, like people weren't learning these things in the
Yeah.
20s. Like they're only like the highest level mathematicians were learning these things. So we just have more to learn now.
Yeah. So
But
so you admire John Muir. Well, there's definitely shared interest, but because of the amount of work he was able to get done in a short amount of time.
well, just his willingness to do whatever
Mm.
I mean, the guy basically discovered Yosemite. I don't know if you've ever heard of the John Muir Trail, but it's one of the
Mhm.
most epic trails. It's like from Southern California all the way
Yep.
up, I think, through the Sierras and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I went to Yosemite recently and just walking through, even though it's all touristy now and stuff. I mean, my brother and I, we were just looking at each other going, man, could you imagine being
What it was
and being
like.
here? Well, yeah. And like the
Yeah.
Native Americans hanging out and it's just you just walking through it and
Yeah.
bears and stuff. And it's like, and I mean, I just
Yeah.
not only just like whatever the feeling of isolation or fear, but just the inspiration and just being like seeing
Mhm.
like giant redwoods for the first time, and you're just like, oh my
Right.
god, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I love that.
All right. So what traits do you think makes for a hero today?
Honestly, just being yourself. It's I mean, if obviously bad people aren't going to be heroes or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
the people that I think change the world and are difference makers are 100% genuine, and whether or not people like them or not, um, they do what they want to do. And that, like Howard Stern was one of my heroes. I loved listening radio,
Mm-hmm.
and mainly because, I mean, I know he's dirty or whatever. People are like, ah, this guy, but he basically taught me, you know, if 50% of the people like you, you win. Even if
Mm-hmm.
50% hate you,
Mm-hmm.
half the people like you. That, I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
great in life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and at the same time, another thing that I've learned that really helped me out a lot is, and this is what I think people have a misconception of, is that people think, I think that they have to like to be a hero, you have to like everybody. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to be, you know, people are like, oh, I just want to be remembered as a good person. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that is really a trap, because it's like, I learned a phrase when I was in my early 20s. It was, being a nice person means that by your nature, you're going to know a lot of people that you don't like. And for me, I
Mm-hmm.
don't have time to know people I don't like anymore. And I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I'm just going to sit there and be like, I don't like you, or like, what was it? Was it Office Space, or no, it was oh, was that movie with Jim Brewer? Anyway, where the guy's just like, F you, F you, F you. I like you, F you, F you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As when he's
Yeah,
quitting
I
a job.
remember.
And
Yeah.
that's like, you don't have to be like that, but you just,
Mm-hmm.
what you do is, like, for me, my technique is I just be myself. And there's going
Mm-hmm.
to be people out there that don't like me immediately. And
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. I don't think, you know, maybe I should change who I am so that person will like me. I don't
Right.
care about that. I want to find out early if you like me or not, because then we don't have to waste each other's time trying to be friends with each
Yes.
other, you know? So
Yes,
that's
I
what I do,
do.
is that's what I think being heroic is just being a genuine person and
Yeah.
doing the things that you appreciate, you know, and showing other people that love you will love you no matter what, if you're just yourself. So
Yeah. That, I mean, I can't agree with you more, and it's really nice to hear it, like hear it said not in my own words, because the way I always think of this is like, the scariest thing that any of us can do is connect to another human being, right? Like to actually allow ourselves to connect, because it requires vulnerability. But authenticity is connection. And it's like, let's see if I can articulate this. We all have a fundamental need to feel loved and to feel like we belong. But like, I don't think we can have that feeling truly unless we're being ourselves. Like, because nobody's actually seeing you,
right. and,
right?
and who's loving you? That's the thing too. That would be my question. Like,
Right.
who do you really want to be loved by?
Oh,
You
totally.
know, do you
Yeah,
want
you're
to be
right.
loved by people you don't know?
Right,
You know,
right,
it's like,
right. Yeah,
I
you
don't know.
can't, like, people pleasing is a whole huge giant trap of pain for sure.
Yes.
But there is this sense of like the one. So as I like started to learn this and grow into my own authenticity, the way I started to judge it was I was like, okay, I know I'm not being authentic because everybody likes me. Right, which I think is what you're saying. So like I
Right.
used it as like a litmus test to know whether or not I was like actually speaking my truth and like moving around genuinely about who I was and how I wanted to exist in the world was based on
Right.
how many people didn't like me, you know? So like the first time someone was like, "Ah, oh, punch life back, oh, blue, boo," I was like, "Yes, I did
Right.
it," you know? Because I was so much the opposite area. So yeah, I find that to be one of the most heroic things people can do for sure.
Hell yeah, just not caring about, and like that goes along with the thing we were talking about too, about failure, like not worrying about it, you
Right.
know. And it's like, I mean, sometimes people do not like me. I have a brash personality, and I know that. And some people, especially here in San Diego, people are very
Yeah.
laid back, and a lot of people get turned off by my aggressiveness, you know. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Wow, you're," you know, they call me whatever. Well, you're da 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 da, and I always just say, "Do you think you're the first person that's told me that?"
Right.
I just stared straight in the face. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you think you're offending me, obviously you're not listening to anything I've said,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
So, and that's it. You know, and I don't have to be mean. I don't have to be cruel, but I'm not going to be not myself. I mean, I want to be
Right.
me. And like I said, I would rather figure it out immediately that we don't like each other, or not even that, cause I might like you, but just because of, you know, your
Right.
boundaries, you don't like me. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, that's cool. I'm not going to be mad. I'm just going to move on to this next person that likes me. Right. You follow
Yeah.
the energy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And there's something too in like if I don't give you the opportunity to dislike me and you don't give me an opportunity to dislike you, we're never going to learn something from each other, right? Like there's never
Right.
going to be any sort of conflict that might help us grow. So
Right.
like sometimes like yeah, it's just you're not my person. We're better off like not trying to accommodate each other. But other times like my biggest learning experiences have been like on that edge with people.
Right.
And
So, well, those are your friends. Those are the people that, like, when you say, you know, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. It's like when you honestly tell people your observations about their actions that you don't like,
mhm,
and they just move away from you, then you're not supposed to be around that person. But if they listen
right.
to you and they say, yeah, you're right, maybe I shouldn't be like that just around me, you know, "Oh, I don't want to be
Mhm,
like that around you. I don't want to make you feel that way. So I'm going to
mhm,
change who I am a little bit so I can hang out with you."
mhm.
Those are the people that care about you.
Right, right. And they've met you. Like they've actually met you and seen you. So like some sort of like shifting is worth it.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
just in general. I mean, when I did like some, you know, I was thinking about being a teacher or whatever. And when I talked to one of my mentors, he was like, you know, nobody learns anything from anybody unless they care, you know? And so
Right. So
that's the whole
true.
thing, is that I'm not going to, you know, if you care about me, I know that you're going to listen to me. But if you don't care, then, you know, that's fine too.
That's
It's
so
okay.
true. Yeah, it's so
So,
true. Yeah, and that gets to like kind of the crux of entertaining too. You know, or at least like what we're doing, which is we're like solo entertaining in a sense. That like you have to like as a streamer, the more you can let yourself be seen, the more people will come back to watch, I think.
right. And just be connection, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's with radio, it's all about, you know, relatability. Can they relate to you?
Uh-huh.
And it's like, and that's cool and stuff, but because it's such a, you know, I mean, it's in your car with your kids, you know what I mean? You have to, there's so many limitations as to what you can do. But with
Right.
this, it's like, it's, you know, and I mean, that's one of the things I learned about, I mean, the radio show I was on. Hopefully they're not watching and they don't get mad, but I mean, they're very family friendly on the
Mhm.
show, but then outside in their regular lives, they're just regular people, you know what I mean? And
Right.
it's like, for me, that was one of the, it made it a lot easier kind of getting away from the radio show, when it was like I just realized that I was being limited in what I could do, you know. And when we would have
Uh-huh.
like our brainstorming meetings about stuff, you know, I was always the guy that they were like, all right, Sky, you got to reel it in, we can't do any of this stuff, you got to stop doing, you know. And it was like, that's
Yeah.
okay, but it just helped me shape that and to know that, you know, this format wasn't for me. I was good
Yeah.
at it and I learned a lot from it, but it's not a perfect fit, you know. It was
Yeah.
like only one edge, only three corners of my square was fitting into the circle.
Right,
So,
right, right. It's got to feel much better now.
oh, this is the best,
Yeah.
the best.
So, all heroes, right, have their challenges. And like I think of like Batman and his fear of bats, or like Daredevil and his depression, right? Like we all have these, they all have these. Um, what is one of your challenges?
Well, I'll tell you right now, one of the things about me, and I guess I have an ADHD, I've learned this, is that I have a hard time with my emotions, like getting fired up, because just because of who I am, like GuanoMaestro, I am the master of shit talking.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up playing a game called The Dozens, where it's a bunch of guys just sitting in a circle telling mama jokes about each other. So when somebody caps on you,
Uh-huh.
first reaction is to snap back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I do. And so for me, I really have to make sure that, you know, if I'm gonna show my emotions, it has to be for a good reason and it has to be appropriate, you know. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, even like, you know, with my wife and my brother and stuff, and they both tell me, it's like sometimes you just fly off the handle, and it's like, you're right. And it's probably because it's just like I love those people the most, and I don't have, you know, all of my guards are down, and so my
Yeah.
brain just goes, and so I have to really just, because I mean, one of the rules that I made for myself that keeps me safe in public or whatever, not doing that, is that if I don't know you, you're not allowed to touch my emotions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody is coming at me harsh or whatever, there's two games that I play. One is, okay, you've opened the door and you are dealing with a master at this, so let's have some fun. Or you're trying to hurt my feelings, so now we're gonna do the same thing to you. Or I just
Mm-hmm.
ignore them. You know what I mean? That's the thing. So, like with my chat, that's when I'm the best. Is when people come on and try to troll me. I find that
Yeah.
I don't get too many trolls, because you know what I think. This is okay. We're gonna go on a side tangent
Yeah. Okay.
real quick.
Let's do it.
So when I first started streaming, I was doing a lot of Stardew Valley. I love Stardew Valley, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody has ADHD and you want a
So
game
good.
that's going to make you feel good in your brain, Stardew Valley. All right. So when I was playing that game, I guess I don't know, people, a lot of trolls go to that game or something, that channel, or where
Okay.
they and because I was getting all these people coming on, and I mean, it was great for me because it was like I was wrecking these dudes. I had these Canadian kids come on, and they were calling me gay and all this stuff. And being from San Francisco, it's like, all right, let's do this. So I'm going with them, and then what I'm the best at is really listening to the people that try to troll me, and
Mm-hmm.
then engage them a little bit more, and then take what they were trying to say to me and slam it right back on them. And it's like they
Oh,
immediately shut down and they're like, and then they leave. So I found
interesting.
that I don't really get trolled very often. I do sometimes, but it's like I think that because trolls only go to places where they can get that feedback that they want. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
drug for them, that adrenaline. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't think I give trolls that energy. And I'm just not
Interesting.
afraid either. Like I've had people, oh, I'm gonna come beat you up and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, great. Where do you live? Argentina. All right, well, when you get here, give me a call and I'll tell you where I'm at. So
This is fun for me because that like is such a different world than the one I live in. Obviously, like I can't turn the table on any troll whatsoever if I wanted to. I'm just like rainbows and butterflies. Did that work?
and they
So,
love that. They want to
I
eat
don't
that.
know.
They eat it
I
up.
I am troll bait for
Yeah.
sure. Like my mods, I bow down to them because I just give people the benefit of the doubt all
Well,
the
at
time,
least
even if they're
that's
obviously
good.
trolling.
Right.
So it's fun to hear a different take on it, and there's something really kind of interesting in turning the tables on them.
Yeah.
Because like, and I don't like, I'm probably making this like way too philosophical, but like I think like if you don't like so trolls like if you don't actually like have like an empathetic connection to the damage you do, like you're just not going to stop. It's too
Right.
rewarding.
Yeah.
But maybe, just maybe,
Dopamine.
yeah, right, totally. But maybe, just maybe, there's something in like turning the game on them that they
Right.
go, oh, ouch, that stung. Oh,
Yes.
like in my world of, optimism and hope, I'm like, maybe that'll get through to them.
Wait, the unicorns and rainbows, you think is
Yes.
going to get through to them?
No, like giving them
Oh,
a dose of their own medicine would
right.
like
Well,
make them go, oh, I hurt people. I'll never do it again.
nope, it's never going to work. All you can do is clap back and crush them under your
All
feet. That's
right,
all you can do.
merciless troll killing.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and they deserve it too. All right. I mean, they're coming up. They only have one thing that they're doing. It's not like they have this whole big idea of, maybe if I troll, I can turn it into something good. No, they just want that dopamine
Yeah.
feeling. And so if you just take it and you're like, oh, guess what? How about this? And they're like, oh, probably like a drug addict, who's like, he's got the shakes. He's like, I'm going to switch channels. Oh, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and I love it. And honestly, like, I feel like, at least for me, and maybe this is because I'm good at it, but I feel like it takes a certain kind of person too. Like, you have to be willing, because like the most effective comebacks and coming back at people or whatever, and this is being trained, and this is kind of what I look at it now. It's like that was training for me to do what I
Mm-hmm.
do, and even have this name GuanoMaestro, like master of shit talking. Like, it's like you have to pay attention to the people that are trolling you. You have to
Mm-hmm.
listen enough to get a nugget of something that they care about, and then you just go right at that
Wow.
one thing. But you can't just be like, I mean, like, I don't want to get all political or whatever, but like
Yeah.
when Trump calls Buttigieg short, it's like physical capping on people is like the lowest level of capping. You know what I mean? It's like
Okay.
saying somebody's fat or short or all that. It's like you have limited intelligence and limited ability to comprehend what's happening. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear people start doing that, usually that's my first cap. I'm like, all right, dude, you gotta do better than that. Like, you're not gonna, well, yeah, I wear glasses, I'm old. Okay, what?
Yeah.
So what? I know that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's get into, get something
Yeah.
you think can hurt me. And that's when they really start trying, and that opens them up to me. And so it's like, but then, and that's the thing, like I said, it's people, you don't know that somebody is a master of slapbacks or whatever, snapbacks, until you
Yeah.
encounter it. But you, and also too, like we were talking about being vulnerable, when they come at me like this, they're making themselves vulnerable to me,
Totally.
even though they don't know it.
Yeah.
And
The more you get them talking,
right.
the more
That's
they're
what
gonna
makes
reveal.
it special. That's what makes it great. So
So I like, like the entrepreneurial side of me goes, oh, I think GuanoMaestro like should create like a educational like thing about like how to turn the table on the troll, and like these are the skills you've got, and like I was thinking about your martial arts metaphor, right? Like you've got the black belt, you're like judging on what they're saying, like what belt they've got, and you know what technique to use at like the belt level that they're at. So like that came to my mind. And then I also saw some sort of like Twitch extension that like turns trolling into like not the trolling action into a game, but like the stuff that happens around trolling into a game, of some sort. I don't know, like kind of
well, the
making
thing
it
is
fun.
the only bummer about that is that no troll will purposely go somewhere to get shut down.
Oh yeah,
That's not what they do it for. So it's like one of those things where like the reason why I don't think I get trolls anymore, because these Canadian kids, I really got into their brain, because after they started trolling me, I was like, what are you guys doing, by the way? It's like, you know, it was probably like 11 or something, and they were like, oh, we just got home from school and this is what we do. I'm like, so you guys come directly home from school and then you just go online and troll people? And it was two guys, they would team up together. They would go home, they would go online, and they each had their own little names, and they would go, you know, they'd be like, all right, let's go to this guy, let's go to this person, you know, and they would both attack one person at one time. And when I was talking to him about it, I guess a lot of trolls know each other. I think I don't know if that's true or not. But and like after these guys like started like being like, okay, well, yeah, whatever. And they had respect for me, but they never came by anymore.
Yeah.
And after that, I realized that I wasn't really getting trolled anymore. So I feel like maybe the word got out or something. I don't know, because I just don't get trolled as much as I used to.
If there is a society of trolls, like you should infiltrate them. I think you should infiltrate
That would be awesome. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, it would be. It sounds like it would be.
I wouldn't know how to do that, but it sounds fun.
Yeah. So, okay, so ADHD.
Three projects. Yeah. 3 projects. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'll just keep throwing projects at you. Yeah. That's what I do.
That's right.
Yeah, so your ADHD, and it sounds like the way that you cope with like the emotions going off the handle is just to like be aware of it, right? Like with your people that you really care about, and with strangers, it's like you just keep more of that guard up. You don't let them touch you.
Right. Well, I mean, I still try to be myself as much as possible, and it depends on who it is too. Like if, you know, if I don't know the person or whatever, then it's like, sweet. But if it's like, you know, like my wife's friend or a friend of my, you know, friend of a friend, I'm not going to be as raw and vicious as I can be, you know, because more than likely what I want to do, if it's somebody I don't know, I'm not going to sit there and you know, there's different levels to it. It's like, you know, my martial arts buddy, I used to call him you know, say you're comfortable with violence. He didn't like that, but it's like, that's the deal. Is like when he gets stuck, he's like, oh yeah, well, I can kick your ass. And he's like, well, he's right. I mean, he's a freaking, you know, he fought professionally in Muay Thai kickboxing in Thailand, you know, so it's like, he's right. But for me, it's like, I can't do that. I'm not tough like that. So I have to use it to where it's like, I just want to make you go away. So I'll just sit there and I'll take what you say and I just make you go away.
Yeah.
You know, so and that's it.
Yeah. So this sounds like something you've probably had your whole life.
Yeah, I think so, but I didn't really realize it until I was probably like in my early 20s, and I met those people and started playing the dozens, you know?
Oh, uh-huh.
So, and it's like I said, that, you know, just in my family, this is what we've always did. We call it a sarcastic positive reinforcement is what we call it, where it's like, where, you know, it's like you're doing good, but you know, my dad always taught me, you know, never get too high, never get too low, always try to stay somewhere in that middle. So if you do something really good, you know, my family was always like, hey, that's great, but you could try working on this. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like they'll give you some props, but they're never just going to be, oh, you're the best, or like so overflowingly gushy with love that it's like it's gooey, you know. It's like we were never like that. So it's like there was always something. And my uncle too, man, he was a high school football coach for like 30 something years, and the way because like, you know, and obviously being from that area, he knew a ton of people. And so I would meet somebody and they'd be like, oh yeah, I played for your uncle or whatever, and I'd be like, okay, cool. So I talked to him about him, and it would be so funny because he would break down this person so fast. He'd be like, yeah, you know, great student, really nice with the guys, couldn't hit his way out of a paper bag. You know what I mean? Like just total matter of fact, just completely break the person down into like 3 sentences. So I think I grew up with it, you know, and I didn't really realize I knew I could do it until, like I said, I met this group of people and it just kind of came out of me. So
yeah. So like, what, if anything, would you tell like your younger self about this? Like knowing what you know now?
Oh man, I don't even know if my younger self would even listen to me, but if I could, I would. Fair. I mean, I guess just soak it up. I mean, the thing when you're young is I find that I mean, the reason why young people get so stressed out is because they have such a small frame of reference with their life experience. So I
Hmm.
feel like the emotions, and the same thing I think with writing music too, how like when musicians, when they're young, they're so epic, they put out all these amazing songs. And then as they get older, it kind of peters out and they do other things. And I think
Yeah.
it's because when you're young, you have this such a smaller reference of your emotions. And so,
Yeah.
your anger is so angry and your love is so love, and everything means so much because you've only had a few experiences with it. So, and that's really what I think it is, where um you take everything so serious and everything means so much and it hurts so much.
Yeah.
And instead of worrying about um going through it and feeling all that stuff, I think the only thing I could say, and you really can't do it though, that's the whole thing, it
It's
takes time
perspective. Like, how
to
do you get,
learn, right?
yeah.
Exactly, is not, don't beat yourself up so much. A lot of my
Ah,
friends
uh-huh.
in high school, they always told me, they're like, man, you are so hard on yourself. Because it's like
Yeah.
I was a straight A student and I played sports, I did all these different things, and my friends would be like, man, you are like, nobody thinks this way about you. Like, you are really, you do your things. And then like everybody,
Uh-huh.
thought I was a good person or whatever, all the funny and all these things. And I would just be like, oh, it's not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's what I would probably tell my younger self, is like, don't beat yourself up so much about stuff. Just live your life, enjoy yourself, make your mistakes, learn from them, and journal too. Right? It's so hard to keep
Ah,
a journal, but writing
yep.
things down and being
It
able to go
helps.
back and look at your emotions and your feelings and being like,
Hmm.
"God, I was an idiot," and
You're
really
right.
understanding that.
That teaches you perspective for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. And you
Yeah.
can really, you look back on concrete things that you have said and you're like, okay, I need to
Yeah.
really check this out.
And
So,
it's like, that's nice advice for anybody at any age, really.
right.
Just like, be kinder to yourself and, journal to increase your awareness,
That's right. And you
basically.
got a long life. I mean, that's the whole thing,
Right?
especially we're talking about the Matrix Guard
Yes.
and suicide and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like these people, it's like, I feel, I mean, my brother-in-law killed himself, it's like 7, 8 years ago now. And I mean, it's, we don't know really why. He was taking a lot of antidepressants, and he was
Hmm.
having pain in the back of his, like the brain stem, like down here in his,
Oh,
like the top of his spine, like down at the bottom of his skull. And he couldn't really, they couldn't figure it out. He went to like a bunch of
yeah.
different doctors. And so it was so tragic, and it just didn't make sense. And
Yeah.
for me, it's like, that's really it. Like, that song, like with that 311, right? I think it's I don't know if it's Amber's the song, where it said, bet on your best bet is always to bet on yourself.
Uh,
And for me, like committing suicide for me is like, you're giving up on yourself. Don't give up on yourself. Like,
hmm.
you can give up on anybody else you want. Like, give up on, if you don't like your mom, great, give up on your mom, who cares?
Hmm.
But like, you're the only one that can make this life better for yourself. And so if you
Hmm.
don't like it, you have to try to make that change, instead of just being like, man, whatever. Like, try to make the change, like put the effort into making your life different. And
Yeah.
obviously people have limitations with physical and mental
For
or
sure.
whatever, but just understanding that your physical reality and the emotions and energy that you put into the universe have an effect. So if
Yeah.
you just little by little, day by day, try to make that change in your life, huge things will start happening before you even
Hmm.
know what's going on. But you have to focus on those things, instead of like, when I meet people, and I don't mean to be rude and generalize, my sister has taught me this, but millennials, for some reason, there
Hmm.
is a whole group of you that are just like nihilist people. They're like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, we're all gonna die, nothing matters. And
Hmm.
then when I meet these people, I look at them and I go, well, duh. Like,
Yeah. If that's,
so is
yeah.
that like, are you trying to be smart or intelligent
Hmm.
or what? Because
Hmm.
it's like, well, yeah, of course, none of it matters unless you want it to. Like, it's like
Right.
you're almost like not finishing the phrase, and you're just taking this one. And I think honestly, because I mainly meet dudes that are like this. And so
Hmm.
I think that it might be a thing to pull chicks, because I know girls, a lot of girls have this thing where like, oh, I can fix him. You know what I mean? And so
Mm.
they might be
They're
using it
using it
as
strategically.
right. I mean, I don't know, because it doesn't make any sense to me, because it's like, especially when I'm sitting there talking to these guys, and it's
Yeah.
like, usually when people start talking to me, they understand that I'm not, I don't know, whatever. I joke around a lot, but the word trifle, like, I'm not a person to be trifled with. You know what I mean? Like, you
Hmm.
don't sit there and you say things that I know, you can figure out that I'm a pretty intelligent dude pretty quick. And
Hmm.
so if you're going to say these really stupid things to me, it's like, if you don't expect me to crush you, like, I don't think you're paying attention. Like, you're not paying attention to what's going on anymore. You know what I mean? You're only trapped in your own nihilistic reality.
Yeah.
and you're not looking at anything outside of where you are. And that's
Yeah.
really what I think it is, and I've had this conversation, which is really weird recently since before this interview, but about how the internet has changed so many people's lives, and how
Mm-hmm.
that my generation is really the last generation that had a foot in reality, where, like, I mean, this whole internet thing was designed as a model of reality and our brains. And so for us, it's like, at least for me, like, it's fun to come in here and release and do all these fun, silly things, and use my
Mm-hmm.
brain as a tool to increase its effectiveness and all these things. That's great.
Yeah.
But I think with people that were born into it, they have the ability to control all of the interactions. And so when they
Yeah.
go online, if they start feeling anything negative, they can just click a button and boom, it's over. And they're like, I win, I win, I win. And then
Yeah.
when they go into the real world, they have all these experiences where they're like, oh, it hurts so much. It's so negative. But
Yeah.
that's reality. That's how life works. Life is not for you to always be happy. Life
Right.
is there to have pain and to grow and to learn.
Yeah.
And so that's where, like, all this depression and all of this, anxiety and like suicide and stuff, I think comes from, is because the I mean, kids that are always online and always doing those things, they don't have the experience of failing really young. And like, we were talking about this offline, but it's like, I, as a young kid, growing up, my mom married into a family of Division I football players, and I got my ass kicked all the time. And so
Mm-hmm.
learning that failure is okay is really important. And even
Yeah.
like talking to like my bosses in radio and stuff, I talk to them about this stuff too, and they're like, man, I wish my kids could learn that, because everything, they want to be perfect, and if it's not perfect, they won't even try. And it's like, that's not
Mm-hmm.
how it works, though. And let me just give you this sidebar on this, on how the difference between the internet and reality. So in reality, um trying and failing until you achieve something is how everything, right? What's it called? Trial and error. There it is, trial and
Mm-hmm.
error. So they had this sprayer thing, right? So there's this paint, right? So paint company, they wanted to find out what the best sprayer was, right? How you get the
Yeah.
widest coat and the smoothest coat. So they hired like all these engineers for liquid and sprayers, and they designed and all these things, and they put like all this money into this thing, and it came out and it was like, this thing's garbage. So what they did, instead,
Mm.
they were like, let's go back to the old way. So what they did is they took the sprayer model that they had, and they designed 10 different versions of it. And then they sprayed them all. And the best one that worked, they took that one and designed 10 different sprayers of that. And
And
then they
tried it.
sprayed all those. And then they took the best one of that, and then they
Mm-hmm.
designed 10 different ones of that. And all that is trying. And eventually they got to the point where they had the most amazing thing. And it cost
Mm-hmm.
like half the cost, because they didn't have all these engineers and all these different people trying to design the one thing, and like, boom,
Mm-hmm.
nope,
Right.
failure. And that's what it is. It's like, when you take the physical part out of the things that you're doing, it's so much easier to get frustrated and unhappy, because when you
Mm-hmm.
have that physical experience, you're actually learning something, and you have something you can hold in your hand, or you have that experience in your soul, and
Mm-hmm.
you can be like, I really learned from this, and this
Like your
really taught me
calendar.
something. Right,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And that's
Mm-hmm.
probably why I like to make those X's,
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah.
that's it. It's in the
Man.
progress. Feeling that progress is such a good feeling.
Yeah. Man, there was so much you just said that I want to like touch base on a little bit. So like just starting off kind of where we started with suicide, and like people, like how you're seeing it as at least somewhat how people are just like giving up on themselves, and that there's a tragedy in
Right.
that. Um and and there's so much I don't know about suicide. I'm certainly not an expert in it, and I know it's really complicated. And I lost my father-in-law just a little bit over a year ago, and to suicide.
It's a bummer. I'm
And
sorry.
yeah, me too, thank you. But like one thing I learned from that is that like I didn't get the sense that he gave up on himself. Like he kept, like he was fighting and trying, he just didn't know what to do. And
Right.
like didn't, like, for whatever reason, wasn't able to like reach out at the right time or get help. Like I don't, like, it was, yeah, it's just like this complicated mess that I don't fully understand at all. But like what I think, like what comes to me from what you're saying is like, if we, and this is why I'm passionate about resilience, because if we can develop the habits of not giving up on ourselves way before we're in pain, like exquisite pain, like we're less likely to get there And then if we're there, we're going to have skills we wouldn't have had otherwise. Like to build the habits before we really need them and to help other people do the same. Like there's such opportunity there. And like
I agree.
and like people, there's certainly something about growing up with social media that like there's this promise of human connection that like it was going to bring. And then the reality is like loneliness is climbing sky high and becoming a health crisis. Like it's linked to all risk mortality, which is crazy. But that's the reality. Like you actually, I think the way you talk about the physical stuff, I think of like, to be connected to another human being, like requires conversation. Like what we're doing right now, or like being in a room together. It's not just like posting and tweeting and like liking and stuff. And like you get such like the internet gives you such a warped version of reality. Like people are usually only representing the best parts of themselves, so it's like this super complicated mess that.
Oh my God. And then think about dating websites. I'm
so glad I met my husband when I was in high school before those things were online. Like if I'm ever not with him, I'm terrified because like I don't want to go into those waters at all. Like it's messy, and it's like I remember in college, so I'm 36, and when I was in college, I remember being like I became super nihilistic. Because I was learning about the ramifications of global warming, and I was learning about money and politics, and all these things that like I just didn't know, like I did not see a great outcome. And it just like, and then I was like in philosophy class, not even like, I'm like, do we even have free will? Like all of these things that like, you're talking about like algebra being taught to people. Yeah, like I'm sitting in a philosophy class learning to debate whether or not free will exists. Like that didn't happen to most people, and now it happens to tons of people, especially with things like Twitch and YouTube. Like we're all exposed to thoughts and ideas that like we never would have been exposed to before, that I think because human beings have like a negativity bias so that we survive, there's something about like hearing the negative stuff that I think can overwhelm people. And if you're combining that with being raised with social media and not learning how to connect to people and to be authentic and to risk being rejected and like be able to handle all of those failures, like it's like this perfect storm of crap,
Right. And also there's the opposite side of that too, I think too, where it's like people, there's so much societal pressure to fit in and to do these things, and it's not even from society, it's like your family, oh, you need to get a good job, you need to have insurance, you need to do all these things. And it's like for me, I never fit into that. And I tried for a while, but for me, what I learned and is you have to have faith in the universe and follow the energy that is presented to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is, so I think really that is the hardest thing that people have to overcome. They have to take, it's like unlearning, right? Where you take all those things out of you that have been put into you since you were a kid and saying, you know what? I'm going to go this direction because it feels good to me.
Yeah. Like to trust like reason. A feeling inside yourself to guide you.
Right.
Super scary. Like it is a huge leap of faith.
Right. But when you do it, as soon as you get it locked in, it is amazing. It is the most freeing feeling. And I feel empowered really by my wife and her being like, I have faith in you. I know, if I was just some schlub trying to do this, but obviously she knows I've got a background in radio, my, journalism, I do. So she knows that like, I'm good. And she has faith in me. It's one thing to have somebody be like, oh, I know you can do this, even if, they barely know you. But when your wife and my brother, they're both like, dude, you can do this. We know you can do this. And so, and even my brother pumps me up all the time. He's like, man, the one thing he's like, whatever you're doing, the one thing that I love about what you're doing is that it's your thing and you have the passion for it and you don't care what anybody thinks. You're going to continue to chase this brass ring until you get there. And that's what it's about. So
and you're literally giving people an example of that and like inspiring other people to do it. They may not know why they get inspired by watching you. You know what I mean? But like, I firmly believe people when we live out our truths and we like dare it all to do what we really want to do with that, like that feeling is calling us to do. Like people may not know why they're inspired by watching that, but inside they do, I
agree. And that's a really deep psychological reality that I'm sure most people don't understand. That's like just because to understand stuff like that, you have to understand a lot about yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
and that's really a large part. And I think too, that's another skill that I don't think we teach people enough is
Right.
introspection. I think
Totally no.
introspection is a very like the most important thing you can get out into to really just be okay with that you're a screwed up person. Like
Yeah.
that's okay. Like you
Totally.
got things that you need to work on. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
let's say it's okay and then work on those things instead of being like, oh man, I'm so screwed up, what am I gonna do?
Right.
Oh, the world is screwed and I'm screwed,
Yeah.
and they get this snowball effect, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's okay. Guess what? I'm screwed up, you're screwed up.
Yeah. We
Some
all
of us are
are.
a little bit farther along the path than other people,
Yeah.
but as long as you know that there's a path,
Yeah.
that's what's important, and you just stay on your
Yes.
path, and it's
Yeah.
not anybody else's path. Maybe you might meet people that kind of have a path like yours, and you can take
Right.
examples from them, but your path is your path
So different.
only.
Yeah.
So you just have to believe in that.
Yeah. It's like we are victims or fighters until the day we take responsibility for our lives.
Right? I mean, just be yourself and
Yeah.
be screwed up. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, totally. And that's like one of the reasons why I love Twitch is because the more polished you like there's a certain like threshold that if you only show the best version of yourself, like people don't care. They don't tune
Right.
in. Like there's a balance, but like I think it's valuable for streamers to show their messiness, and to be human. Because otherwise people can't connect to you.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun for me,
Me too.
Guano. So I have something that I haven't done before that I would really like to try. So
Okay.
I used to love watching Inside the Actors Studio.
Okay.
And did you ever watch that?
Yes, there's a giant stack of blue cards, and Will Ferrell is the character.
Okay. Well, it was a show where like famous actors got interviewed.
Like, no, I know.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, okay.
you don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. Was
Will
there a
Ferrell
joke?
would do Will Ferrell would do this guy.
He would do
Yes.
James Lipton.
And yes,
What?
and he would have this stack of blue cards
Oh
like
my
this
God.
big, and he would like peel one of the cards off, and he'd be like, "Where does the earthworm that grows in your head come from?"
Oh my gosh, that's
Like
brilliant.
that.
I'm going to be, that's what I'm doing right after this. I'm going to YouTube
Okay.
that.
right.
Try to find it. So I came up with my own like quick, like 9 questions that,
Okay.
are meant to be like the first thought that comes to your mind, you say.
Okay.
So if you're game, I would
I'm
like
ready.
to do that. All right. Okay. So if you could live in any cartoon, which one would it be?
Probably Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry is the old school one where he like gets chopped up into pieces and stuff.
I
That's
can
the
see you
best.
living in that world
Like
for sure.
like get grated, like turn into like little squares, and then like reassemble.
Yes. Oh, so good. Okay. If you had a magic wand and could change anything in the world, what would you change?
Geez, that's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to just get rid of domestic violence altogether. I think it really shapes our culture, the culture of the world. Like
Wow.
being able to eliminate violence in a family atmosphere, I think would completely change the way everybody looks at the world.
I would like to give you that wand.
You know.
In one word, how would a good friend describe what you are like?
Oh man. Never boring, I guess, would be a good
Okay. Okay, we'll hyphenate it.
one. Yeah.
What makes your heart sing?
Being when I'm with my family and friends is great, but I mean, like that's more like, I think, like calmness. So like singing, I think singing, oh, that's a tough one. Man, it used to be sports. It used to be when I would just dominate somebody mentally and like they were a much better physical player than I don't even, like nowadays. I guess it's just what I'm doing now. Like like doing, like chasing my dreams and really like throwing myself into every dream I want to accomplish. I think that is really what gets me going right now.
Yeah, I can relate. What's your favorite smell?
I think, oh man, that's a rough one. Because I love food. I'm a cook too. I cook really good. Yeah, my mom taught me how to cook. Was like as soon as I could reach the stove, being a single mom, it's like, can I have food? She's like, I taught you how to make it. Go make it yourself. But I probably Probably gonna have to say like fresh cut grass, because it really
Ah,
brings me back to like being a kid and playing sports, and I feel
all
like
right.
I'm there to watch something fun, like I'm at an event, like a sporting event, or like watching a relative, a nephew or
Yeah.
something play, or
All
that's
right.
probably it.
What do you think cats dream about?
Cat stuff, I guess, like catching mice and doing like the
Okay.
things that we do, right? I mean, I'm sure they probably have sex dreams and like cat stuff, just like humans do,
That's
right? Except for
hilarious. Yeah.
it's cat stuff, right? I mean,
All right.
uh,
How would
not
you?
not an exciting answer. Sorry.
Oh, I'm judging everything you say.
Okay,
If you
I know.
can't
Well, yeah.
tell.
Well, I'm judging everything you say too, so it's okay.
How long would you last in a zombie apocalypse?
Jeez, see, I don't know because I don't own a gun right now. Because I mean, I really think that if there ever is a zombie apocalypse, I really think that owning a gun is a huge part of survival. So
Interesting.
if that really happened, like I don't think I would live that long. I mean, I would probably the first thing, but I mean, a lot of people are going to know this too because zombie apocalypse is so popular right now.
Mm,
But I mean, the first thing I would try to do would be to find a gun. Because I
yeah.
mean, it would be like that. It's the and the gun. I don't think is for the zombies. The gun is for other people.
People.
You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because it's like the zombie thing. If you get caught with 1,000 zombies, unless you're Glenn, you're never gonna get through it. So
all
and that's
right.
if you know. Do you know that reference?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. That one I know.
Okay, good.
If you had a year to live, what would be the most important thing for you to do?
Jeez. I would probably the first thing I would do is I would probably call every single person I've ever met, and I'm getting all emotional right now. So here's my ADHD, right? Like
Yeah.
not allowing me to know this is imaginary.
Mhm.
I would probably obviously I'd talk to my family or whatever,
Yeah.
but I mean every person I ever knew that affected me, I'd probably call them and just let them know how much they meant to me, and then I would fucking travel the world.
I
And then I would
love
just
it.
move on. I would be like, yo, I just want to let you know I'm thankful for all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I would probably go explore all of human civilization and what we've learned and try to learn as much as I could before I
Yeah.
went. So
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for going there. You notice how I slid that one in at the end.
yeah, no, it's cool. Listen, I'm totally open to you. So and like I think being emotionally vulnerable is important for a guy. You know what I mean? It's
It's
like
so important.
I'm not really worried about crying. I mean, I've cried many times in my life, and it's
Yeah.
like people like guys, especially guys, we're taught to like hold it in or whatever, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like I think it's okay. I mean, it's like I get all I am all teary or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's just part of it. It's part of being a human, and being okay with your
Yeah.
emotions is part of it, and like just allowing, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
go onto my channel and you click on my chat, the first thing you see is allow the universe to exist and find your place within it.
That's
Like I'm not
awesome.
trying to don't troll, don't be mean or stuff like that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that's who you should be, and if you can do that here, then you're going to be successful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, men are taught that crying is vulnerability, and it's not. It really isn't. Um,
It's just being yourself,
totally.
allowing yourself to
Yep.
have emotions.
Yep.
It's not
Yep.
difficult. It's just like unlearning, right? It's the unlearning
Yeah,
again. It's
for
okay to have
sure.
emotions. It's okay to be angry. If you let those emotions push you into violent acts, then that's not okay. But it's okay.
Right.
It's the same thing with being a racist. I tell everybody. I don't know if you know who Avenue Q is. You ever heard of Avenue Q?
The musical
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like it's Sesame
that
Street for
everybody's a
adults.
racist.
Yes, exactly. That's it
Yes.
right there. And that's
Uh-huh.
really what that is. And I learned this. One of my good friends' mom hijacked a plane to Cuba. She was a Black Panther in the 60s and stuff. And when
What?
she taught me this, what she taught me is that everybody's a racist. You don't
Mm,
have a choice. But what makes you not a racist is not allowed, because we all have uncles or aunts or parents or somebody when we were a kid said meet they see somebody or whatever that they were racist about, and you hear that like an Asian person, oh well, those Asian people, blah, blah, or those
yeah.
black people, like for me being a white guy or whatever. But I mean the same thing, if you're an Asian person, the white people, the black, everybody
Mm-hmm.
has something that they see that whatever when you were a kid your uncle told you, and that stuff
Right.
sticks in your head when you're a kid. So when you're an adult, as the way the brain works, you learn in Psych 101, you don't have a choice about these thoughts. Your brain is like a filing cabinet. So you have an experience with somebody of person of color, at least
Yeah.
for me, the white person, all those thoughts come up. But not being a racist means you let those thoughts affect how you feel about this person. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? You have to have that stop, that gate, and say, okay,
Yeah.
you know, these are all the, and eventually it gets to the point where the thoughts don't really even show up anymore. Like it
Right.
might when it get triggered by something or whatever, and you have to do whatever, but it's like,
You
it
unlearn
just
it.
stops.
You
Yeah,
unlearn it.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
there's this theme that keeps coming up for us, which is like self-awareness, like with the journaling. So you're aware of these thoughts that you're having, and then over time you unlearn it. But you only unlearn it if you face it.
Right. Introspection once
Yes,
again,
that's right.
right?
That's the word you had. Introspection. Yeah. Well, I've had a really great time, GuanoMaestro, and
Me
I
too.
appreciate it so much. I'm glad we finally got to do it. I want to check in with chat, which I've been terrible doing,
Okay.
and just see, does anybody have a question you guys want to ask before we wrap up? We've got some thank yous.
Thank you, chat. I can't see chat, but
I
thank you,
know.
chat.
Yeah, you know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, well, we're giving him a couple seconds. So your GuanoMaestro on Twitch, Cardholder, Aether Hub, and Crazy Frez in San Diego, which I did check out, and that was really cool.
I made that website. I
Did you
designed that
really?
website too. That's another thing I learned how to do. Make websites on Squarespace.
Yep, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's once a week? Like that's a local place in San Diego people can go play Magic?
No, any day
Any
they want.
day.
They can go any day, anytime. If they've got 8 people, they can go and they can have a sanctioned tournament, basically. All you
Cool.
need is 8 people and you can get points. Well, the way Magic works is that there's this DCI ranking,
Okay.
and it's like, you know, you win games, you lose games or whatever, and it goes on your ranking. But if you get 8 people together, you can have a ranked game. That's all that matters. 8 people is the minimum.
And you go there from time to time, like once a month or something?
Yeah, for sure. Well, me and Fred are good buddies. He's the guy that I first met when I started playing, and he was best friends with. He became friends with my friend Matt that taught me how to play the game, and so we just. But Fred is very similar to me. He's an ex-Marine who loves, you know, people that talk smack, and he doesn't put up with a lot of guff and stuff. So we got along really well. So it was like we just became friends over time.
That's awesome. Anything else you want people to know about you or how to connect with you?
Yeah, just if you want to just hang out, just come to my Twitch channel and relax and just hang out. That's pretty much it. Like that's where I'm able to be connected with probably the best. You can email me and stuff, all that stuff, connect, you know, anytime you want. Anybody that wants to talk about anything, I'm always open. I always tell people when I'm on, come in and just ask me any questions. I mean, if you can't tell from this interview, I'm pretty much an open book. I don't care. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm a messed up person and I know it, but that's okay. And I use it as a strength instead of being as a weakness. No, and this is the funny part about that juxtaposition, right? Is that's also my defense mechanism, is knowing that I messed up and thriving in it. And I use that to keep people away from me. You know what I mean? Like what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
So it's that delicate balance of like, trying to be nice, but then not really caring about being nice.
Yeah. So, but you're aware of it.
Right.
Right.
Just,
like first huge step. Yeah.
Twitch is where you want to be. If you want to get to know me the best, just come to Twitch and hang out with me.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody in chat. I'm going to stop the stream and then say goodbye to GuanoMaestro. So thank you for being here. I had a great time with you all and I hope you had a good time.
Have fun today. Have a great weekend.